to step in the game. Here to bring the heat. Texans 22. We on the beat. Leo and BT. Hosting this show. Talking X's and O's. We letting y'all know. Texans 22. Breaking it down. Podcast got the city vibing to the sound. Special guest dropping out, it's so true. Houston Texans fam, this one's for you. Texans 22, breaking it down. Podcast got the city vibing to the sound. Special guest dropping out, it's so true. Houston Texans fam, this one's for you.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Texans 22 podcast. I'm your host, VT, aka Brown Chubby Bear. You can follow me at Brown Chubby Bear. And I have my partner in crime, Leo, aka Leo is Forgiven. You can follow him at Leo is Forgiven. And we have a special guest today. It's Paul Gallant from Gallant and George, ESPN 97.5. You obviously know him from the radio. You may know him also as Tucker Paulson. I don't know, maybe we'll get one out of him today. How's it going, Paul?
What is happening? What is going on? I'll tell you what's going on. The Texans are a disaster.
That's right. The Texans are a disaster. And how much of a disaster?
Oh, no! We suck again!
We basically suck again. And we're trying to decide how to fix this, right? So, basically we want to make sure that Paul, someone thinks you're really, really hot. So, hey, there you go.
What's going on?
I'm telling you, that mustache, that's it, man. The mustache is it.
I don't know if I'm going to keep it going forward. I think I have to get rid of it when I go home Thanksgiving to make my mom happy and to make my godson not terrified of me, but I appreciate it.
Hey, someone says you're hot. I keep the mustache, but what do I know? All right, let's get down to it. The main question here was we wanted to have a little debate because anyone that watches this show regularly knows that we are considered the Slowik, quote-unquote, sympathizers. You have basically 95% of the fan base thinking that Slowik should be fired. Some are saying D'Amico should be fired. Some are saying Nick should be fired. But let's start with Slowik, right? I'm going to throw out some stats there first, and then, Paul, I'll give you you'll be first up here. So there are reasons why people are saying that Slowik should be fired. It's not like I don't understand it. The Texans defense has scored more second half touchdowns in the past 2 games than the Texans offense has scored in the past 6 games. This is a problem. You can look and see how we lost to the inbreds, right? Yeah, that's my name for them. So for 3 quarters, the O-line actually didn't give up a sack. And then all of a sudden, they give up 4 sacks in the 4th quarter. It just seems like this offense is not built to last basically more than 2 quarters of football. We committed 4 drive-killing penalties in the second half, right? So, I mean, those drives, you could say at least 2 of them were going to be touchdowns. And the fact that penalties are the things that kicked us out of the way is freaking annoying. 4 of the 7 third downs were from 11 yards or more. Average was 11.5 yards. So, you can say that part of that is because Bobby Slowik was trying to run the ball on first down, but then how much is it because of penalties and simply just people not executing? So I can go more, but I want to start with you, Paul. Should Slowik be fired, or is it really not his fault, and should he continue to have a shot at turning this football team around?
That's a loaded question because I don't think any of us believe he's capable of fixing this situation right now. So I think I'm with you guys, and you say you're the Slowik sympathizers. I don't think firing Slowik is going to change things the way that we want it to, because I think they're very limited with the personnel that they have on the offensive line. And while I don't know much about trench play, if you've been paying attention to my old co-host friends Payne on Twitter, it does feel like there's a major problem with the Texans' ability to coach offensive linemen. So that means we're focusing on the offensive line coach, Chris Strausser, who I think has clearly done a job that does not merit him returning, at the very least. But let's bring it back to Bobby Slowik. If you move on from Bobby Slowik right now, in the middle of the season, you are creating a lot of problems that people have to pick up in the short term. And you're basically saying we're going to make an addition by subtraction. That can be the case in certain situations, but to what I see in our show rundown here, the options that you have are a guy that has not been good as an offensive coordinator before and a guy who hasn't been one. So to answer your first question before I turn it back to you guys, I don't think you move on from Bobby Slowik right now because I don't think it's going to change anything. I also still get the frustration that everybody has about this offense, which is absolute crap in the second half.
You're on mute, V.
Oh crap! Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good. I thought I was like my mic was crapping out for a second.
Usually I'm better about that. All right. Well, I'm just going to go directly to Leo. Leo, why don't you give your case on why Slowik shouldn't be fired?
Well, I mean, we've seen too many like highs from him, and you've seen too many examples of this offense working. You've seen them try to scheme around the issue, and I feel like over time, like we see that. How do I explain this? Like, I mean, to the best way. I mean, basically, there's been so many highs, and there's a clear flaw with basically all the teams that he's had. I don't think we've had a team that can consistently win on the trenches, particularly against playoff type defenses, right? Which I would consider the Titans basically a playoff defense. They're pretty damn close. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously their offense is the complete opposite of that a lot of the times, but their defense is good. You know what I mean? They're like roughly top 5 rushing defense, top 5 passing defense. So they are an elite defense. You know, it's neither here nor there. But yeah, so, and then, I mean, in those type of games, what do you see? You see dominant offensive lines. I mean, defensive lines. You see corners. You know, you see guys that can cover on the second level. So to me, it's like, there's so many examples, and even with those, like there's examples of him having success, you know, against those type of teams. But over time, and particularly like what I feel like happens in the second half, is that at some point, you know, it's only so much scheming around a glaring flaw that you can do. And at those times, like when it's time to really play football, like, you know, and when you see, I know Paul's gonna love that because, like, you know, Bobby with the football is the football and football, you know. But like times in the game, like legit times in the game, like when you get to the red zone, right? When you get, you know, in the second half, like when it's time to run the ball, when it's time to really block guys, that's when a lot of that stuff kind of just fails. You know what I mean? And so, like, to me, I feel like it's more of a roster issue than a coaching issue. You know what I mean? Now, I mean, coaching as in play calling issue, I should say. You know, now, like as far as the offensive line coach and all that, like 100%. I mean, you know, that is like you can't, like in terms of position coaches, that's a completely different issue. But when I talk about play calling, I don't feel like it's a play calling issue personally. You know.
Yeah, and you know, and obviously I tend to agree with you there. One of the complaints that a lot of people have is, well, he calls a run on first down a lot. And I'm actually editing a video, and it's actually all about Titus Howard. But in that video, Leo talks about how much Bobby Slowik actually calls play action shots on first down, and he actually went through Pro NFL and selected the plays, which I'm currently editing. And I think, and hopefully, you know, if anyone's watching the channel, hopefully you subscribe to the channel so you can actually watch this video that'll come out tomorrow morning. But the point is that the whole reason why Bobby runs a lot on first down is because it's a breaker when you throw a play action. You call a play action shot, right? And everyone remembers that beautiful shot to Nico Collins on the first play of the game when we played against the Colts last year. And we attempted to do that multiple times this year. You know, we did that once against the Cowboys. CJ threw an interception. We've done that this last game, and it gets called back because of a penalty. You know, whether it's a holding or a false start. So the thing is that the stuff, in my opinion, that he's calling, it would work if we didn't have the other issues, which is, you know, the penalties and so forth. There's also issues with the offensive linemen. If you look at all the linemen, none of them are very good. You know, we're going to get to what should happen if Slowik was fired, but just look at these numbers. Kenyon Green, he had 27 pressures and 5 sacks. Scruggs, 19 and 5. Howard, 29 and 3. Shaq Mason, Shaq Mason fell off a cliff, 31 pressures and 7 sacks. How are you supposed to call anything when you don't have any protection up front? And then you look at the run blocking. Mixon had 2 games where one he had 1.6 yards per carry, another one he has 1.8 yards per carry. If you look at the all 22, it looks like our tackles, particularly Titus Howard, just doesn't give an F about run blocking. I'm not sure how you can blame Slowik. So, Paul, I'm going to throw this back out to you. If Slowik was able to, or if they wanted to fire Slowik, how exactly would that help the season? Because as you already mentioned, we already have the show notes. Gerard Johnson, I don't think I'll give my opinions on Gerard Johnson in a moment, but yeah, Gerard Johnson, in my opinion, who isn't really doing his job now. Now you want to give him a promotion, and then you have Bill Lazor, who's been fired 4 times as an OC because he sucks. So what is it, 6 times the charm? I mean, I don't know what firing Bobby Slowik is going to do.
It's a lot to throw at Gerard Johnson right now. Now, on a personal note, I know Gerard. I've known Gerard for a while. He used to be a guest on my TV show before he had worked his way back into the NFL. And on top of that, when we once had our Sports Radio 610 Combine, this is a really dumb story, but bear with me. Gerard Johnson helped me shave 0.2 seconds off of my 40 time, literally by just talking to me for 5 minutes. Now, what does that say about his coaching ability in the NFL? I don't know, but I will say this all the time. There are some guys who are very good at teaching. He was at that moment for me, good enough to help shave my time from like a 5:04 to a 4:84, which made me feel very good about myself. You are going throwing a lot on his plate. Say you move on from Bobby Slowik right now. And by the way, not only am I not sure that happens by the end of the year, I am not sure that they will move on from Bobby Slowik after the season is done. I was talking with DJ Bieneme from ESPN today on my show, and he put that out there. So, guys, you might be very frustrated at the end of the year. If I have to pick between the two, I'm giving it to Gerard Johnson. But you have to realize how crazy it is to give it to him right now. If you're doing it this week, I mean, think about that. Thanksgiving week, you're going to do that. You're going to give this guy some more responsibilities before they play the Jaguars. The only time it would make sense to make some changes like this would be on the bye week. And the Texans, let's be honest, they got screwed with the NFL schedule-making gods in that their bye week is week 14, and after week 14, they're going to play 3 games in 10 days. Logistically, it just doesn't seem like there is a spot where they can make a move, because even with the bye week, there's going to be so much that you're throwing at a first-time coordinator over 10 days, 3 games. That's insane. Against AFC contenders, 2 of them are Super Bowl contenders. One of whom has life all of a sudden. It's just throwing a lot right now. So, again, to bring it back to the original question, I would not move on. But if I had to pick between the two, I'm not doing Bill Lazor. I'm doing Gerard Johnson. I'm getting crazy.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that for a moment. Leo, this is what my question is to you. So let's just say Gerard Johnson is the OC, just for a moment. My problem with him is that his entire job is to develop C.J. Stroud, and C.J. Stroud has regressed. If anything, C.J. Stroud, quite frankly, has been one of the worst quarterbacks in the past 6 weeks in the NFL. He's literally 30 of 32, in so many stats. It's unbelievable, and it's not all on him, right? There's the offensive line. People are calling the play calling. I'm literally looking at the offensive line and penalties, and he has a lot of blame for it as well. But that's Gerard Johnson's responsibility. So I can't imagine saying, "Yeah, hey Gerard, you sucked at your job. Let's give you a promotion." Nepotism as fine as right, but this isn't even nepotism. So, and then Bill Lazor, as I mentioned, he was fired in Chicago, Cincinnati, Miami, and Philly. So, it's fifth times would be the charm. So, why would he be good in Houston when he wasn't good in 4 different clubs already? Leo.
Should Bill Lazor be the OC? Honestly, no. I'm sure Gerard Johnson is a bright guy. He's been around a lot of different guys. I had to go back and pull up his coaching. Obviously, I think he was at A&M with was it Mike Sherman or one of those legendary spread dudes was there, I believe. And then obviously he's been around Kevin O'Connell, right? So he's been around a lot of different types of guys, a lot of West Coast guys, a lot of guys with a lot of history. But I mean, it's tough for me to say that right now that he should be. I don't even know what his philosophy is. I don't know. I literally know nothing about him. You know what I mean? To say that he should, also, yeah, Bill Lazor. I mean, listen, I mean, to say we need to fire Bobby Slowik and go to Bill Lazor. And I mean, just again, it's like where exactly is this team underachieving at? Like, what I mean, and what actually is happening to for us not to be successful? Like, we're talking about a game that, I mean, Stroud threw 2 interceptions, right? Two bad interceptions. You know what I mean? One that gave them a field goal at halftime, right before the half. Another one that was just remarkably bad and gave them really good field position. And we was able to run the ball for like 1.6 yards a carry. And was Bobby's play calling the reason why Joe Mixon was able to average like 1.6 yards a carry? Was his play calling the reason why we were able to average 1.8 yards a carry? Is Bobby's play calling the reason why CJ was pressured, what I'm saying, like over 50% of his snaps against, the Lions, the Green Bay Packers, and all these teams that we've seen. Like, if you argue that it is, I mean, everyone has a right to their opinion, but I believe that it's definitely something wrong with what's going on up front. We played Kenyon Green for I don't know how long. He was the worst guard in football when we seen him first, and he was the worst guard in football when we seen him this time. Juice Scruggs, let's take the draft choices and what we traded and how much they get paid and where we took them at. Like, just take it out. Scruggs has not played well at center or at guard. He has not played well. Now, you can make excuses for it. You can say he's never been around good guards, but at the end of the day, he has not played well. You know what I mean? Shaq Mason, me and Josh on the show was telling V the whole offseason, why we felt like we were going to draft a lineman in the second round to begin with, in the first few rounds before we traded the first round pick, right? He's a small guy. He's 6'1". You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure his arms aren't that long. You know what I mean? And, guys like that don't age well in the league. You know what I mean? So, it just so happens that the fall off happened, I guess, a lot sooner than everyone saw it, even me. And I was someone that thought we should start preparing for it now. So I think that we have, it's clear evidence that, it's like I always say, what great play caller do we see overcoming these type of issues up front?
Yeah.
That's the real issue. And if it's like you're treating like a gunshot wound, you're treating like a fatal wound, a fatal type cut with a Band-Aid. It's like, no, we have to go and we have to have full-blown surgery to figure out what's going on and fix it here. You know what I mean? Now, this isn't an issue that you could fix in the middle of the year. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, I could talk forever about that, but I'll stop.
I mean, we could talk forever. That's why we have a show, bro. But I mean, listen, the bottom line is that I don't think this is all on play calling. And Paul, this is a couple of questions I want to bring to your attention, which is I think we wait too long.
Let's go.
I think we wait too long to make changes, right? And this is not just this year. Let's go back to Justin Britt, Scott Quessenberry, 2022. I mean, this is a situation that we have found ourselves in literally the past couple of years. And if you look at Kenyon Green, he was pretty much asked for 9 weeks, and they left him in there. And you can say, well, they left him in there because we needed to have a run game. But are you doing that at the expense of hurting your franchise quarterback who could have ended up on IR? I mean, and let me just finish real quick. And so it's not just Kenyon Green, though. Like I said, Scott Quessenberry, same issue. What's crazy is that Scott Quessenberry was the worst offensive lineman in the league when he was on our squad, right next to Kenyon Green, who was the second worst offensive lineman when he was playing for Davis Mills, right? And what did we do? We brought Scott Quessenberry back the next year. I mean, I'm not trying to be a Cassera hater, but he drafted Kenyon Green. He drafted Scoot Struggs. He extended Titus Howard. He extended Shaq Mason. why are we pointing the finger on the play caller and not the dude that constructed the roster?
I brought this up on my radio show today. I mean, you take a look at the starting offensive linemen and the total salaries that they're due. It's $188 million. I mean, that's an incredible amount of money. You know what's funny with what you were talking about with Kenyon Green? Weirdly, they miss Kenyon Green right now because, yes, in pass protection, he is an absolute liability. But as a run blocker, he actually was good. I think that was one thing he was good at. He's a road grader. I remember, I think it was Brian Baldinger, right after his first game, was glowing about what he saw from Kenyon Green in game number one. He was showing all these run block reps where he won on it. He was pancaking people. I mean, right now, they could use that on the interior. Joe Mixon, I think this season has been making a lot happen with not a lot of help. I think, honestly, the individual efforts we've seen from him, his ability to bounce to the outside, have been incredible. And the Titans, who, Leo, you said earlier, this is an all-world defense. I totally agree. I mean, in the middle, you got Jeffrey Simmons, one of the best defensive linemen that nobody talks about in the league. And I heard after the game, Jared Patterson, it was me, Landry, Cody, I think Will Kunkel was there too. We're all around him. And at one point, Jared Patterson said, hey, they were doing something that we didn't expect out there. They were patient, they stayed back, and they didn't let Mixon cut back. So, I mean, it goes to, one, hey, the offensive line is just not doing its job. It's paid a lot. Nick Caserio invested heavily in this, but also they're not being instructed what to do properly. And I think that's the real question you got to ask. Is it Caserio's fault for giving these coaching staff these players, or is it on the coaching staff to make it work with these guys? And I'll always go back to this quote that led to Bill Parcells leaving my favorite team growing up, the New England Patriots, the quote about the groceries. Hey, I mean, if you're not going to be able to shop for the groceries, what are you doing here? And I'm not exactly quoting it, but it's a difficult position to put any coach in, whether it's D'Amico Ryans or VT. Going back to bring up Justin Britt and Scott Cosenberry, never would have crossed my mind, but that is certainly something to ask about because they do seem to stay with guys that are underperforming a little bit too long. The really tricky thing is, in the middle of the season, you can't really add offensive linemen. I know we all wanted them to trade for one at the trade deadline, but I tend to believe that it's hard to find offensive linemen there. I think the bigger problem is you had a whole offseason to go after an offensive lineman. You know, you had March in free agency to get somebody on the interior. You had the draft as well. You had May, you had June, you had July, you had August, and training camp. Roster cutdowns happened, and you thought you were good. And that's the problem. I would imagine that's more on Nick Caserio than it's on the coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there is an issue with offensive linemen and Nick Caserio, and this doesn't mean that we have to fire him. Like, I think we have to get that out of our head that as soon as we want to criticize someone, that doesn't mean we have to get rid of him. He's done a lot of good. He's brought in Will Anderson and, you know, Derek Stingley. I mean, the amount of offseason pickups that he had last offseason. Right, Nico Collins. I mean, and then not just a draft, but bringing up, you know, Daniil Hunter. I mean, he's done a lot of good.
Yeah.
Right. And Mixon, obviously, for a 7th-round pick. So when I'm complaining, I'm not saying get rid of him. I'm simply saying there is an issue for offensive linemen there, and he probably needs to look outside of his current scouting department. You know, so, you know, however that works. So, again, I think we're blaming the wrong people, but I understand the reason, right? If something's going wrong, you go to the manager. I mean, Seth Payne has made that very clear on the radio a couple times, and I understand it. But I think we have to not be so reactive, because what's the point of getting rid of somebody if there's no one good behind them to take that role? You know, Leo, here's a couple things that I have an issue with, right? And I don't know who to blame, and I want to know who we should blame, because one of the reasons why we sucked against the inbreds were the penalties. Right. This was the first time that the Texans had double-digit penalties since the win over Jacksonville. We had 11 penalties for 81 yards. Like I said, 4 of them were on drives in the second half, and at least 2 of them would have been touchdowns. Right. So I don't know who to blame there, but that's been an issue for the past 3 years. That's before Slowik got here. Right. So what are we doing with the penalties? Who do we blame? Is that Caserio? Is that the OC? Is that head coach? Is that the players? Is that everyone? Let me know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Paul had a really, really great, that was a really great comment talking about the groceries and stuff. You know, the fact is, this is the reason why Caserio's hand is completely in this is because he committed to Laramie Tunsil when we knew that. He's had a penalty problem since I remember him in the NFL, right? And then so on and so forth. The whole offensive line that he put together. But there is like a chance for him to change it, and I think that he has to kind of just to commit, to just change his mindset on like whatever he was evaluating. Go get other people to help him, whether that be whenever we do make a offensive line coach, like a change, really really sit down with them, and with D'Amico and with Slowik, really understand where we're going, like in terms of scheme and all this stuff, and sit down with everyone, have a whole round table so that we don't miss on these high draft picks when it comes to offensive linemen. So at the end of the day, it goes back on Caserio. And when I seen this question in the show notes, when you sent it to us, I really, really wanted to go back and say, like, listen, when everything like you have to perform average before we start talking about penalties. Things have to be even before we talk about penalties. When you average 1.6 on the ground, the fact of the matter is that, like, in the NFL, like, it's probably going to be hard to win that game. You know what I mean? But again, like, we lost by 5 points, right? We lost by like less than a touchdown. We gave up a safety at the end of the game. You know what I'm saying? So literally, like we lost by, we could have tied the game up. We had a touchdown. Literally the penalty, the lack of discipline or lack of like whatever the heck caused that. Like, it literally stopped the touchdown. You know what I'm saying? So like you can't ignore the penalties, but at the same time, like, you also can't go into a game where you have pass protection issues to begin with. Your quarterback has, been getting shell shocked to the point where, like, it's like he doesn't even look like himself. You can't go into a game like that and average 1.6 yards a carry and think that you're going to win to begin with. So it's just like it's a constant circle of like, this team is not good enough to compete on a level against real playoff teams if this is who they are. You know what I'm saying? If we cannot protect the quarterback at all, if we every time we play a good defense, we can't protect the quarterback, and we can't even give him a chance to get third and short because we're getting stuffed at the line of scrimmage or worse on most plays, it's just not good enough. So it's in reality, the penalties ended up being the reason why we lost a close game. But there was a lot of reasons why we still should have won, even with the penalties. If we were playing on an average level in every way, if we played on an average level, we would have won the game, even with the penalties. So it's hard to, like, there's no real, like, thing to say, but that's what it is,
I hear it. Paul, here's another issue, right? So obviously we're putting a lot of blame here, but there's 2 games right now where Kaimi has missed critical kicks that would have led us to win the game, right? 2. Now, I understand he now leads the league in over 50 yards and blah, 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 blah.
NFL record.
I literally don't give a shit about it. I literally could give 2 shits about it. There are 2 kicks that he missed with the Lions and this last game where we should have had 2 more wins, honestly. Now, you could say we shouldn't have penalties, we should have better line play, we should have not have the interception. Okay, but we're at this point, we have been almost accustomed. Maybe that's wrong to be accustomed, but we're accustomed where you're supposed to make a chip shot. Mm-hmm. If you can't make a 35-yard field goal when the game is on the line, what do you work towards? Now, I don't want to say again, I'm not saying get rid of him either. I'm just saying there's so many issues with penalties and whatnot, but how much fault do you blame on Kaimi? Because those kicks cost us games.
Well, by that logic too, how many games has he won for them? You do have to ask that question too. He fucked up there. There's no denying that. It's a 28-yard field goal. You can't miss it. But do they win the Colts game without Kaimi Fairbairn? do they win with some of the struggles that they had in the second half against the Bears, would they have won that game? Would they have beaten the Jaguars? Would they have beaten the Bills? The Colts the second time? I mean, he's going to miss some kicks. I think ultimately the fact that you're having to rely on your kicker as much as you are when you have CJ Stroud is really the indictment. It's as if you're those Bears teams with Lovie Smith running the show and Rex Grossman from back in the day, where you're like, you need special teams touchdowns and field goals to win games. So Fairbairn screwed up. There's no denying it. But I can't get mad at missing a 28-yard field goal when the guy has an NFL record for most 50-plus yard kicks, and there's still 5 games left this year.
All right. So let's go down this list because there's only 2 more left, and the other reason, everyone realizes this, right? The reason why the offense sucks is the O-line. I mean, I can go through these stats, but if you really do need me to read these stats, I don't know what you're watching. Stroud was pressured 15 out of 40 dropbacks. That's 37.5%, and he was sacked 4 times. He is the second most sacked quarterback in the NFL. More worrying is that Stroud has been pressured in under 2.5 seconds at the 3rd highest rate in the NFL. All right. There's no denying the line has been bad, but I'm going to give you 2 points at once. There's another reason why the offense sucks. Stroud is off, right? Since week 7, only Caleb Williams and Cooper Rush, a rookie and a backup, have a worse passer rating than CJ Stroud. That's it. So, listen, Paul, there's so many things that are wrong with this team. I can't imagine how literally 95% radio hosts, analysts, fans are saying, just get rid of Scott Quessenberg, Jesus Christ. Bobby Slowik. I feel like I'm living in a bizarre world. Do people understand all this? How do they think Bobby Slowik is going to firing Bobby Slowik is somehow going to save this franchise?
I'm with you. I think there's a little more nuance to it in that they're not just focusing on Slowik. Me defending my radio brethren out there, but I'm with you in that I don't see how it fixes things. And I know people are going to point to the Bills last year when they moved on from Ken Dorsey to Joe Brady. Hey, it worked, but I don't think we were looking at offensive line issues with the Buffalo Bills last year. And it was proven by down the stretch they decided we're going to commit to the running game, and they really ran the ball effectively. And sadly, the Texans can't turn to something like that right now because with no Kenyon Green, incredibly, they just can't make anything happen on the ground. It really is. I've made this comparison a couple of times this year. There's 2 different Friday Night Light movies. There's the book. I have to read the book. I heard it's great. There's the TV show, soap opera. It's ridiculous. It's fun. There's the movie. The movie's my favorite. In the movie, for those who haven't watched it, Billy Bob Thornton is the head coach, and Derek Luke plays Booby Miles, who is this all-world, real-life high school prospect who was an incredible running back. Derek Luke did such a great job in that movie. Billy Bob Thornton's offense was entirely designed around this running back bailing him out. And they struggle once in the first game of the year in garbage time. He tears his ACL. This is one of those things where you kind of have to find a way to make it happen. And unfortunately, to this point, it really has been. Hand it off to Joe Mixon. Let's see if he can make some dances around the Texans and get out there. You can't really fix anything here. So, yes, Slowik isn't some sort of magician that can fix these things, and that's frustrating to some. But there's also no fix for the Texans to get more out of this offense. I just don't see it. I don't think you can really compare situations to Buffalo. You're looking for a head on a spike because you're mad. And I think the people who did the French Revolution will tell you that putting the king and queen of France's head on a spike was fun and all, but led to this thing called the Terror for 20 years. Sorry to get all dorky and historical there. That was bad. Might have been worse than the actual monarchy.
I think you just said it perfectly, right? People want someone's head to roll because they're pissed off. And I think people are rightly pissed off because after last season, we thought we were on our way to our first AFC championship. The only franchise that hasn't been one will finally get there. And we find out, hey, that's not going to happen this year. So I understand the anger. Trust me, I'm angry. I mean, I don't hold on to my anger well. You know, I have anger issues.
Scott's Questenberry. He's taking shots.
I mean, God damn. I mean, seriously. All right, but before we go and talk about the glitter kitties, though, I wanted to break this up and just ask a question because Randy has been asking this question, and now it's all over the place. So, Paul, if you had to give up if you have to give up turkey for Thanksgiving, what is a dish you'd replace it with?
Ooh, well, it has to be a meat. You can't have Thanksgiving without any meat. I mean, I'm gonna go and do something. I've done this before for myself, and I ate the whole thing myself. Prime rib. You put a prime rib in the oven. You put some seasoning on it, and I think prime rib's the best. Honestly, we don't have prime rib enough. It seems like it's just a Christmas deal. I would not object at all to replacing turkey on Thanksgiving with prime rib.
I mean, that's a perfect answer. Leo, what's your answer? What are you going to replace your turkey with?
Man, I was gonna say, it's funny, man. I was gonna say brisket. You know what I'm saying? Smoked brisket, bro. That's what I would do.
Brisket. I mean, it's one of my favorite things. But you know what I was thinking? I was thinking duck. I like duck, and it's a bird.
Best bird.
Right? It's a really good bird to eat. People
so
don't
juicy.
even know.
Yes, a lot of fat in it. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. I actually think ducks sometimes it can actually taste much, much, much better. Obviously, I'm gonna eat turkey because you eat turkey on Thanksgiving. But I'm just saying. But duck is pretty good. And I think people have to give it just a little bit of time. With that,
what's tricky with duck is just hard to find. I would eat duck so much more if it was more readily available. I think I have to hunt it. I don't know. I've never seen the grocery store.
Yeah, it will probably take you a little bit, unless you go to Whole Foods. I think Whole Foods probably
they might, yeah.
Like every single time. All right, let's get into the glitter kitties.
In the city of Duval where the Jaguars play, they talk big game, but they can't slay. Glitter kitties on the field, no fire in their eyes. Arrow bark, no bite, full of empty lies. In the land of steel where the weak attack.
All right, so let's get into the glitter kitties. We obviously can't simply say that we should beat a 2-9 team. We did not beat the Titans, so we no longer can just simply say, yeah, this should be an easy one. And everyone knows, anyone that watches the show, a couple hundred people right now watching us, right? They all know that I hate the Jaguars with a passion, and it pains me to say that I don't know if we're going to win this game. The first thing to note is Trevor Lawrence is back at practice. They're unsure if he's going to play. If we're comparing stats, him and Stroud have pretty much been pretty damn close. 61% completion rate, 2,004 yards, 11 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He has turned the ball over a lot less than in previous years, so I got to give him some credit for that. And I feel like I need to hit myself for saying that, but I got to give 87.9 passer rating. Stroud, pretty close, 63% completion rating. Obviously, he hasn't been injured, so he has more yards. He has 2,875 yards. He has 14 touchdowns. He also has 9 interceptions. And so, I hate saying this, they're pretty much playing the same right now. Kadar Hollman and Jalen Petrie are out for the Texans. And Jalen Petrie is a huge reason why we actually been able to make big plays in the run stopping. So 65 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 8 pass deflections, 1 interception. He will be hugely missed. I hope it's only for a couple of weeks. It could also be for the rest of the season. Pectoral, shoulder injuries, that type of stuff. J.J. Watt had those, and we didn't see him on the field a lot when he had them those years. C.J. Stroud, like I said, has been pressured in under 2.5 seconds, right? Now, here's the problem. The only other duo in the NFL that's on the top 15 pass rush list are the Jags. Hines, Allen, and Walker are the only other duo other than Will Anderson and Hunter are the top 15 pass rush duos. So I'll stop preaching with stats right now. I'm just going to ask you: are you worried about this game right now? Because I am.
You have to be nervous about every game this team plays the rest of the way. You said it best, and it's crazy going back to where the Jaguars were last year, where they were 8-3, and they beat the Texans when Matt Amendola hit the crossbar. And I remember feeling very confidently that Stroud was clearly the better quarterback in that game. But you bring up the statistics, you can't clearly say that Stroud's been better than Trevor Lawrence this year. And Lawrence is playing for a coach that, if you've listened to him talk this year, it doesn't really seem like he's enjoying Trevor Lawrence's experience that much, or really anything. In fact, it's pretty crazy that he's still employed. I think the one thing you have going for you if you're the Texans here is that this team does seem as close to quitting as possible. The Cowboys seem like they were kind of in quit mode too in Monday night. I think the Titans still have something to play for because, Brian Callahan, he's trying to get another year as head coach, and Will Levis is trying to get another year as a starter. The Jaguars are in this weird spot where I feel like both parties, Doug Peterson and the team, like they know this is done, and yet they're sticking it out. And I don't really get why, but that is surprising. I did not know that Travon Walker had finally arrived. Obviously, the Jaguars should have taken Aiden Hutchinson, but those are pretty impressive numbers.
Right. I know Leo was a very big fan of Trayvon Walker, and I thought that they should take Aiden Hutchinson too. So I was with you there. Leo, my question to you is similar to the question I asked you against the Titans when I said I don't know if we were going to be able to run the ball against the Titans because of how good their run defense is. The Jags' rush defense is pretty damn good. The Jaguars' rush defense has allowed the second fewest rushing yards over expected and the seventh lowest success rate on runs outside the tackles. The Jags are also ranked at stopping the run 14th and at 4.3 yards per carry. The Texans are ranked 20th. Leo, is this going to be another game where we can't run the ball, or do you think we'll find a way to run the ball?
I mean, if we're trying to run outside the tackles, man, I went to the Jaguars game last year, man, and to see how big Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen is, bro, it's crazy. They're guys that literally professionally set the edge. You know what I mean? And you have Tunsil's been better in run blocking this year. Like, there's been games where he looks pretty damn good run blocking. Titus, on the other hand, bro, like some of these clips that are in this video that V is editing are just purely just it's just bad. I'm not gonna say anything more than that. It's just plain bad. So, we're gonna have to probably run between the tackles, or we're gonna have to find a way to kind of double with the tight end, on Walker or Hines Allen, and like run tosses around, but even still, like you never really know how that's gonna work, this might be a game where you kind of just have to run more duo stuff and like just hopefully get something, even though it looks, the thought of Patterson and Shaq Mason double teaming anyone and moving them backwards is like also a stretch to me. So honestly, I'm just hoping that we get 2.5 yards a carry. I'm hoping that, and they're really fast on the second level. I don't know if Aluakon is playing, or I guess he is playing. But between him and this dude, Ventrell Miller, it's really fast. I'm saying 2.5 yards a carry because we literally just average like 1.6. So I'm just saying, like, can we get, somewhere around there?
Another yard?
Yeah. But the thing is, though, man, honestly, if you play defense, bro, like if our defense really shows up, which I believe it can and will, the thing is that just because they're playing a run really, really well doesn't mean you can't get play action shots off of them. So, there's that. So I'm going to just say hopefully if we can't run the ball, we can get a couple play action shots, and hopefully it doesn't take too much more than 10 points to win this game, honestly.
Yeah, that doesn't sound great.
I didn't really realize how depressing I sounded until I just kind of looked around the room and was like, "Oh shit."
You want to walk into traffic, or you want to think you're going to want to walk into traffic, take a look at all the tweets that my guys Landry Locker and Will Kunkel have been putting out for the last 24 to 48 hours. Jeez Louise. It is a lot. I feel like there's probably been more posted since last I looked. I actually, because I'm doing a live stream a little bit later tonight, I have them all listed. And I'm talking, I think we're at 15 different just depressing statistics for this week. You guys have brought some new ones to the table that I didn't know about, like the whole, hey, he's playing worse than Cooper fucking Rush. Yeah, man.
Bad. It's bad. So normally, there are a couple things that me, Leo, and Josh is another host. He's on Texas 22 Breakdowns and on our Sunday shows. And it just so happened that for whatever reason, we don't agree on everything, but we do agree on a couple things, big things, frankly. One is all three of us stress running the ball. For whatever reason, all three of us understand the importance of running the ball. And it seems like I'm throwing my hands up in the air at this point because the Jags are really good at stopping the run, but they are literally the worst team in pass defense. Literally the worst, right? So do we abandon all thought and reason and say, listen, we already suck, but we have to win this game? Do we not play good, consistent football since we can't anyway and just try to play hero ball? Paul, I'm out of answers, but if you look at this logically, I have to now say, you can't be doing the same thing. You can't, can you? I don't know. What do you do?
Talked about this with DJ Bieneme, the ESPN Houston Texans beat reporter, today on my show, and he had suggested quick passing game. And that might be where it starts. Now, I see Leo's making a look right there. Look, you're at a point right now where you just can't run the ball. You're going to have to find ways to do it, but we know what's going to happen when they try to run it. They're going to go 1 yard in a cloud of nothing, and we're going to be depressed. And that's good, honestly, because how many times has this team tried to run the football on first down or second down, and then all of a sudden it's a 3 yard loss, or it's no gain and it's 2nd and 10, and they're in the worst second and goal situation that there is. They're going to have to find a way to utilize their strength. And while the yards of separation numbers for the Texas wide receivers, based off the last I saw, haven't been very good, you do have guys in Nico Collins who are very good on slant routes. You have a guy in Tank Dell who should theoretically be able to get open quickly. You have a veteran in Robert Woods who at least used to be a guy that could do that. John Mechie's, I think, actually been okay the last couple of games. That's been nice to see. If the strength of your team or the volume of plus players on your team is in that receiving room and at tight end, then that's a way to attack. But yeah, man, I just don't have a lot of faith. I'm going into it with a feeling that I'm going to be underwhelmed and disappointed no matter what they do.
Well, I mean, I think I would. I'm usually not a loss for words because I usually just keep rambling, yeah. But the problem here is that I hate the Jags so much, and I don't want to give them credit, yet I feel like I have to because they may literally beat us. At the same time, Stroud actually does very well against the Jags, and I feel like this may be the game where they get it. I mean, I've been saying that though for like 6 weeks, so who knows? I feel like it should, but I mean, this bleeds into the keys to victory. Should we run the ball? Should we be a pass first team this game? Logically, it seems like we should be a pass first this team. However, we're going to turn the ball over. We know that if we ask Stroud at this point to throw 40 times, he's going to turn the ball over 2 or 3 times. Leo, what are your keys to victory?
Bro. Let me cook, man. Can I get 5 minutes of time, bro? Let me just cook for a second, bro. Listen, the hilarious thing is like last game we were a pass first team. We ran the ball 14 times and we lost. We lost because our quarterback turned the ball over 2 times one was heavy pressure, but Nico, it should not have been a pick. He should not have thrown a pick on that play because Nico was open and he had a linebacker on him. So whatever. The other one was just a clear one of a terrible pick, man. Now, let me cook, bro. A terrible pick, completely, remarkably dumb pick. Same one I saw from the Lions. So let me cook, bro. I'm sorry, bro. It's not Bobby's fault. He calls run plays so much. It's the bad offensive line. You have to treat a bad offensive line like a good one and call run plays. Y'all are clowns who make no sense. Now listen. To have an effective passing game, you also have to have a good offensive line. Yeah, Paul, you might want to back up because there's about to be some bombs dropped, man. There's about to be some. Listen, you have to have a good offensive line to have a good passing game. Now, you actually call run plays because you don't think your line can pass block. There's levels to this shit, bro. You know what I'm saying? So you think that we're arguing to say run the ball because we think these guys can run block. We're saying run the ball because they can't pass block. Our quarterback isn't handling pressure well, and he sucks right now. CJ Stroud sucks right now. So he's not gonna make this. He's not gonna make the situation better. He hasn't. They gave him the opportunity to, and he hasn't. So guess what we should do? We should run the ball because he can't handle the pressure. And and play defense and just try to win the game. Now listen. Now and I mean honestly, he's looked good. We've had big plays off of play action, which means what? When you call play action play, you fake the run. If you look at the big play to Nico Collins, it was off of play action. You know what I'm saying? If you look at all of our big pass plays, they're off of play action, despite the lack of success we've had running the ball. If you look at the second egregious pick that he threw against the Detroit Lions, where Tank was wide open in the end zone, it was off of what? Play action, even though we averaged 1.8 yards a carry. Tank Dale got wide open off of play action. So listen, bro, your quarterback ain't as good as you thought he was. My quarterback ain't as good as I thought he was, and that's why we need to run the ball. He can't handle the pressure. He's getting hit, and he's damn near look like he about to cry on the field sometimes. The boy looked like he was about to cry on the field against the Jets, man. I'm sorry, bro. So, I just had to let that off, bro. Keys to victory. Paul, I mean, I just had to get that off my chest. But
I like it.
Go ahead, bro.
Look, the key to victory is they got to stop doing dumb shit. And I hate to say it like that, but I mean, it's been 12 fucking weeks. And this has happened every game. There have just been so many little mistakes that have been made. And what I think is really frustrating is, coming out of that Cowboys game, they were acting like they finished strong. No, Cooper Rush fumbled, then a Cowboys tackle fumble. Derek Barnett scored a touchdown, and you were able to finally score an offensive touchdown in the second half after that. But, I mean, because of your own mistakes, right now, Jimmy Ward and Derek Barnett have more touchdowns than your offense in the second half, like for a very long stretch. I forget what the specific number is. You can't have false starts. You can't have delay of games. You can't have illegal formations. You can't have illegal men. You can't have illegal motions. It's basic shit like this that makes them look just so damn unserious because it happens week to week. And I'm sure that D'Amico Ryans and the Texans coaching staff are saying different things to their players privately than they are publicly. But for fuck's sake, I would like the players to actually have some sense of urgency and pride coming forward. There's a moment, and I'm sure you guys have seen this. It's with my guy, John Harris, and the voice of the Texans, Mark Vandermeer, who I know has been on this show. And they're doing the Coaches with Coffee segment that they do once a week on Monday. And it's a much better watch if you don't want to pull your hair out than D'Amico Ryan's press conferences where he's saying positivity 6 or 7 times in the last 2 days. And in that moment, D'Amico said, I really hope that the team kind of sits in this because I know I am instead of moving on from the last game. But that should have happened after a 5-interception game that you blew a 23-7 lead to against the best team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions. That should have happened in the Thursday night game where you no-showed against the New York Jets. This should have happened already. So I will once again ask the most basic fucking thing. Stop making really dumb mistakes that lead to you being one of the most penalized teams in the National Football League. It starts there, and you can take the baby steps forward for all the other stuff afterwards. But please, I am begging, stop embarrassing all of us with stuff as simple as not zipping your zipper up, not buttoning your shirt, not buckling your belt, tying your fucking shoes. That's all I'm asking for. It's like I have this child that is at school who keeps doing horrible things, but not horrible things in that he's like lighting other students on fire or anything like that, which would be really bad. No, it's just like he's forgetting to sign his name on the test. He didn't bring a pen to the test. It's just really basic stuff. It feels like where they start. And against a team like the Jaguars, please clean it up. Stop taking people lightly. Stop taking all this for granted. And rant. I'm glad that we're getting the Thanksgiving break, because talking about this every single day has made me reach the boiling point. It feels like they don't give a shit at times. And clean it up.
This is how I feel when I see the penalties, right? Those back-to-back false starts, the holding penalties. How many times is Nico Collins going to have to lose a touchdown? I mean, of all things, you could say, all right, your offensive line's block sucks because these guys suck. Okay, fine. You can say they suck. But when you're committing these amount of penalties, you're right, Paul, it seems like they don't give a shit. And the thing is that we do. And so why don't they? And this is why I've been saying 4 of these guys need to go in the offseason. 4 of these offensive linemen need to go. And yes, Titus Howard has a huge cap hit for whatever stupid freaking reason. Not only extend the books for 2027, if we cut him, it's going to be literally like 26 to 29 million next year if we cut him. If we trade him, we have to hope that someone is stupid enough to pay some of that. You know? And I don't know who would be, but we got to hope and pray that there's another stupid organization that would take him. All right. I will try to end. I like to end things on a positive note typically.
Let's do it.
So
I didn't get my game. My bad, bro. I didn't get my keys to victory. I was just cooking this dude. You know, can I give? My bad, V. I'm sorry.
Well, just do it when you do your game predictions.
All right, my bad.
All right. So here's my game prediction. My game prediction is that we'll win. My game prediction is that we'll win, but it's not going to necessarily be with the offense. We're going to score another defensive touchdown. That's how I think we win. Kyrie misses another field goal, but the way we win is because of our defense. Because I know that our defense didn't necessarily look the greatest because we against the Titans, we let Pollard run all over us. We allowed 3 huge plays from Will freaking Levis. Right? I know that we didn't look great against the Titans, but we have looked good almost every other week. The defense has been here bailing the offense out of their shit week after week after week. The defense deserves blowjobs. Everyone. Nick Caserio needs to say, here, listen, no massages, but here are the pros. They're going to help you out. Because the defense has been leading this team to victories, not the offense. I say that we will. My game prediction, it's going to be less than 40, 42 overall. I think it's literally going to be a 23-24 game to like 12. It's going to be just something weird like that. They're not even going to score 20 points. But like I said, it's going to be at least one defensive touchdown that takes us to victory. Leo, take it over.
Man, listen. While Paul was talking, it made me realize that, like, you know, you start talking about D'Amico talking about positivity, and I'm just wondering, man, like, is this team actually dejected to the point where that has to be an actual talking point? Are we as dejected as some of the teams that we think we're playing, like the Titans, like the Jaguars? Because, you know, it's week. What week is it? Week 11, week 12, and you know, our all pro, like highest paid, like top 10. I know how petty some people are. Top 10, top 8 highest paid right tackle in the NFL is sitting around here talking about, you know, what did he say, bro? That just really pissed me off. Oh yeah, we have to decide what type of team we're gonna be. You know, listen, man. And I'm gonna just go right back to this shit, bro. You know, run the damn ball. and just watch the bitch crawl out of these guys, and whichever lineman starts tapping the hell out, that's who we need to get rid of, Bro was talking about check downs. CJ doesn't take the check downs, man. Like, you can't design a whole play full of check downs. It's just going to constrict the field. They're going to play. And then we see picks, like the one he threw against the Lions right out of the halftime. Do y'all remember that one? When it was a bunch of short routes and CJ Stroud turned around and threw a pick in the red zone, in the other team's red zone. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, so run the ball. Run, it's one thing gonna happen. It's either they gonna bitch out or we gonna bitch out. And the good thing about either one of those is if we lose this game, we know who to. I don't give a damn how much dead cap it is. I don't give a damn if we have to trade a pick to get the motherfucker out of here to get them to take the damn contract. Fuck them. We can't. We want to run play action. We want to run the ball. We hired a defensive coach. My quarterback doesn't know up from down, left from right now. Run the damn ball, and I guarantee you, next year if we can run the ball, he's gonna be back to normal. Because the rookie year CJ I saw was one of the best play action quarterbacks in the NFL as a rookie with no run game. So that's what I believe. We got too many bitches on this team, bro. We paying too many bitches. You know what I'm saying? And we averaging 1.6 yards against a 2-9 team, 2-8 team. 1.6 yards against a Super Bowl caliber team. We play the Green Bay Packers, and we can run the ball. We run the ball up until we know, like they know what we have to do, and then we're moving backwards. And then on top of that, CJ's getting hit every other play, bro. So listen, like more importantly than winning any game at this point, because I don't know. I don't think we're gonna win the Super Bowl, honestly, at this point. Honestly, if I'm being honest. I need to figure out who is the weed here. Who are the weeds in the grass? Who's the weeds in my garden, bro? And we won't we have to completely change the culture of this team, and we won't win until we do it. And the offense plays night and day from what D'Amico's mindset is. I love how the defense plays. I hate how the offense plays, except for like 3 players. Nico and Mixon and 2 players. So honestly, that's how I feel. So yeah, run the ball, work Stroud into the game, you know what I'm saying, and then do that. And then so my game prediction, I don't know. Honestly, I want to win a game. I want us to go in there with the mindset that we have to win this game like 7-3 or some shit. I'm tired of the bitch mindset. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna go in there and let's be physical and see who taps out. And then at the end of the day, we'll come back and talk about who needs to get the fuck up off this goddamn team, bro. Because I'm tired of watching this shit. I'm tired, bro. Oh, bro. 1.6 yards. He averaged 1.6 yards, man. He averaged 1.6 yards, man.
Racking.
Paul, let's hear a game prediction, man.
Texans get 11 sacks. 3 of them are safeties, and they win the game 9-3. I'm just putting out a completely ridiculous thing out there. Look, the offense has to figure out how to make things happen in the second half. I do think that Jaguars are a team that are on quit watch. I don't think they like playing for Doug Peterson. I don't think Peterson wants to be there. I think Peterson's probably pissed that he's not been fighting. Spend time with the family. I think the Texans win this one, but I once again think we are going to be underwhelmed. I don't think anything is going to make us happy unless we see some real steps forward against the Chiefs and the Ravens. And it's a long time that we've got to wait until then. We're talking 3 weeks. So we'll see what happens. It's not a long.
Yeah. Listen, I someone asked if we lose to the Jags, is the season over? And the answer is yes. If we lose to the Jags, it's time to start scouting 2025. Look at offensive linemen and stuff like that. But I'll say this, man. I still believe, like, as much as I want to bitch about things that I'm bitching about, this team has eked out wins when we had no chance. I remember last year the first game that we were playing against the Jags, I literally wrote a whole article saying we have no chance to win and gave all the reasons why, and then we won the game. And we were out 14 players. I believe 7 were on IR. We had 3 of the offensive linemen were starting out. And we just ended up, but you know what did it? We had a special teams touchdown. We had an interception. It wasn't just the offense, even back then, right? And then there was a blown play, and then we throw a huge 68-yarder to Tank Dell, right? So the thing is that it is possible to win against these Jags. I just think that we obviously can't do the same thing that we have been doing. So, one, do I think that we're going to clean up the penalties? Not really. Do I think that we could get lucky and commit penalties that the refs don't call? Yeah. I mean that's something I'm looking forward to. But overall, I'm gonna leave this with you guys. Listen, we can win this game. We're not as bad as the Jaguars. If we lose against the Jaguars, listen, I'll take that back. But I do not think that we're as bad as the Jaguars. So Paul, let me give you a chance here to talk to the nearly 300 people that are watching. How can they hear you? You said you're going live today, right? So why don't you tell them about it?
So I have a podcast. I'm trying to do it a little bit more. It's called the Gallant Says Podcast. It's just me by myself. You can get it on YouTube at Paul Gallant, on Twitch at Gallant Says, Facebook.com/Paul Gallant Sports, Instagram at Sports Gallant, and on X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at Gallant Says. It's also available in podcast form after the fact, Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And I host a radio show from noon to 3 on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Our signal is not the best, so you might want to watch that on our YouTube channel at ESPN Houston. You can also watch it on our Twitch channel at ESPN 975 or on our Twitter/X at ESPN 975. On top of that, there's a podcast for that. It's like a lot of George. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I think that checks all the boxes.
It's like the Micro Machine guys from the 90s.
Yeah.
Guys, I promised you something that we would do at the end of the show, and that's a special. No one else knows about this. It's only the 300 people or so that are watching this. We have launched a Black Friday special. We have all new gear. This is the one that we are launching. The price normally will be $99, but until basically the sale goes until Black Friday, the end of Black Friday or Cyber Monday, $69. Nice. $69.99 for this jacket. For the audio listeners that can't see this, it's really cool, man. It's a cool jacket. It's got the blue color, Houston color. It's got the Texas 22 logo on the front and a really awesome graffiti style H and a more Texans logo. It's really, really cool. Check it out at Texans22.com. All you got to do is type in the code Best Team in Texas when you buy this particular jacket, and you'll save $30. And when you go on Thursday, there'll be surprise Black Friday specials that aren't announced yet. So go to Texans22.com and check that out. And just remember, guys, yes, it's Christmas. It's Thanksgiving. It's time that we should all basically try to be a little happier. And I think we'll win. So while we are eating turkey and stuff, just remember, Texans 22 always has your back.
Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken, turkeys, rat, you name it! Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, ram, dog. Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken, turkeys. Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, ram, dog.